Welcome to tonight's stream. Oh my word. I am going to be real with you guys today. I am feeling very, very last minute with this one. So apologies in advance if I get everything wrong tonight. But before I get started, how are you all doing tonight? How are we all feeling? Because I've been both looking forward to this and just feeling super unprepared for it. So tell me how you guys are doing in the comment box. Of course, if this is your first time, then this is a sew stream, and it's a virtual sewing circle, crafting circle. We do lots of different things here, and everybody is welcome, of course. We are non-judgmental, and we really like to hear about your projects. So come with your projects or don't. It's completely up to you, but definitely, share them in the comments. We've got Lawrence.
Hello.
Oh no, I yelled. An insect that's on me.
You're describing me as an insect. Or you had an insect.
Yes, I had an insect. Okay. But yeah, so anyway, come with your projects, don't. It's your call, but Lawrence is moderating. He has said hello.
I have. Now, I'm no longer sitting next to you, so you can move that way very slightly.
Oh,
that great. Way, you're central.
Hey.
Yeah.
Better?
A little better. I mean, you could probably stand to move a bit more, but that's fine.
All right. Our tech director is getting a little too technical for me today. But anyway, yeah, so he is also our moderator. So make sure that you guys are kind to each other. And if you would like to ask questions, then you absolutely can in the comment box, and we'll try to get to all of them as much as we possibly can. So today we are going to be talking about budget costuming. Before we get into that, Lawrence, who we got tonight?
We got a few fine folks in the house. I've said hi to some of you, although it came from Tara technologically. But we have Tart and Tabby, we have Renee, we have Sue, we have Amy, we have Donna, we have, who've I missed? We have Cassie, and we have Shauna, and we have Jeffrey Martin Paul US.
All right, Jeffrey Martin Paul US. That is a mouthful, but I will try. If you have, questions, comments, whatever. Welcome to the group. So budget costuming, or really costuming on any kind of a budget. Probably the biggest costuming day of the year is coming up. Any guesses, Lawrence?
It could be Halloween.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Halloween. So Lawrence and I have been invited to our own Halloween party. Not that we're hosting. We've been invited to one. And it just got me thinking, even those of us who don't usually wear costumes year-round, unlike myself sometimes, will at least probably be thinking about costuming for this time of year. And so why not talk about some costuming or creating costumes on a budget? So let's get into it just a little bit. Now, before we actually get started with my pointers, just be aware that these are some very basic things to follow. And I'm not getting into numbers here because every person's costume is different. So if you have specific questions about your own costume, then put them in the comments box. And I'm happy to try to address them as best as I can, but I'm just talking generally today. So I will generally start with a design that, in this case would probably be based on a character or based on a specific person. My own costume for our Halloween party will be revealed here. I don't know. I can't decide, Lawrence. We've already decided what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But I can't decide if I want to tell them at the end of this stream or if I want to wait until next week.
Keep them in suspense. Sorry. I mean, you do you, as they say.
Well, I'm hoping that I can actually draw out sketch out my costume design. So maybe I will wait until next week. We'll see how I feel at the end. But yes, if you are making your own costume this year, you may want to draw out your design as well, or at least make a list of everything that you'll need in terms of the costume. We are going to go in depth, hopefully, in a future stream about how to design a costume. That's not going to be this one. So just be aware, we will definitely take a step back and look at that at a later date. This is literally just talking about once you've already decided exactly what you're doing, what you're going to get into at that point. So after you've made that list of necessities, then it's a good idea to start thinking about what kind of costume you personally are capable of making. So which pieces can you actually make? And what pieces will you absolutely need to buy because of, skill set, that sort of thing. So along those lines, there are two pretty large considerations that you need to think about when you're making the different elements of the costume. The first one is really your skill set, what you're capable of doing at this very moment. And the second one is the amount that you would like to spend on your project. So like I said, those two things. The first one is the personal skill set. So what are you capable of in this moment? What would you like to learn? What do you have time to learn? Is there a time limit on the project? So for example, again, if you're doing this for Halloween, then really you only have, a couple of weeks at this point to get your costume together. So will you actually have a lot of time to learn a new skill, or do you need to rely on the skills that you already have? And what can you actually achieve in that time frame? The second thing that you need to consider is your own budget. So how much money can you feasibly spend on this project? And think about each of the individual pieces and think about whether or not it would be cheaper to buy each individual piece or to make each individual piece. So a really good example of this is the whip as part of like an Indiana Jones costume, okay? You could get a really, really nice whip made out of real leather, or maybe even faux leather nowadays, because I'm not gonna lie, faux leather looks nicer and nicer every year. But either way, it'll probably cost a whole lot of money, whether it's real or faux at this point. However, if you already have a leather making skill, then you might be able to make your whip for a lot cheaper. And while it means you take extra time to make it, it won't be nearly as much money that's spent on that specific part of your costume. So again, what can you do and how much are you prepared to spend? And then at that point, what you want to do is you probably want to do a little bit of inspiration. So maybe take a Pinterest board, for example, and put one together. So for example, if you're making that whip, then maybe you'll want a Pinterest board that is specifically devoted to how to make whips or elements of leather work, that sort of thing. I think I did a very similar thing when I was trying to decide exactly which dress and which chemise to make for the green dress. But once you've done that and you've decided exactly how you're going to put that thing together, then at that point, you'll want to really estimate the pricing. So if you're buying the whip, then you're going to want to go on Amazon or maybe go to your local leather workers, what have you, and then really write down those prices. Don't buy anything yet. Just write down all of the prices from the top places that you actually would consider buying these materials from. And maybe even make like a price range next to each item. And as you know, I am a huge advocate of using your phone for such an endeavor. Literally just make a list on your notepad and then put all of that information in the same place. Then it's a really good idea to decide what the quality of the materials need to be for the type of costume you're making. So if this is a Halloween costume that you're only going to make once and wear once in your life, then you're probably going to veer toward the cheaper materials, especially if it's something that you're making for the first time ever, because you don't want to ruin, for example, a really nice piece of rare leather on a whip if you've never made a whip before. So it might be a good idea to start with the cheaper materials and then get into the more expensive materials later after you've made whips a couple of times in a row, right? Now, before I get into more of the details of what you might want to consider before you choose how you're going to make your costume, then I would like to share another one of your projects. And yes, we have talked about this person before, but I'm going to go ahead and share her again because she shared more than one type of project with me. So today we are going to give a shout out to Tartan Tabby 85, of course, on Instagram, or just Tartan Tabby here on YouTube. And the reason for that is she has started making poured resin jewelry. And so you can see some of that work that she's been doing on the link that Lawrence is going to put in the comments for you. And it looks really intimidating, but it's also really encouraging that on her first ever attempt, which she shares on her profile, each piece is just beautiful. They're made out of, I think, flowers from her grandfather's funeral. And I am sorry that had to be something that you went through, but your tribute to him is just gorgeous. And so I wanted to share it with everyone for you now. So I can't wait to see when the jewelry is actually finished. And of course, you can follow her at the link, as I said before. Now, of course, if you yourself would like to be on one of our future sew streams, then I really like to showcase somebody at least once per episode. So please, please, please use the hashtag crafty vintage lady, because that's me. I'm the crafty vintage lady. And I cannot wait to see all of your projects and hopefully feature one of you on the next episode. So yeah, let's get back to budgeting for the projects. And whether you make something or purchase it, I think it's pretty safe to say that the better the quality of the material that you're working with, then the more likely it is to be more expensive. So if you are only just getting started with sewing, as I said before, it's probably better to start with the cheaper fabric. Okay. Now, I think a lot of people are, ready, or they think they're ready to start with really expensive fabric. And sometimes you can get away with that. But generally speaking, especially since I always advocate in most cases to do, some kind of a mock-up of your work, then start with that cheaper fabric and then move into the more expensive fabric later, because sometimes the cheaper fabric might already be something that you're interested in using anyway. And it's better to mess up on that cheap stuff first before you get into the more expensive and beautiful stuff. Also, sometimes you just look out and you'll find something like a polyester that mimics the real thing enough that you might even prefer it to the real thing. So for example, when I was doing my stripey challenge, that black and white dress is made out of polyester, but it's polyester that mimics the feeling of silk. And it does it actually quite beautifully, and it drapes really beautifully because of that as well. Just like with the faux leathers and the faux suedes that are out there, faux material in general continues to amaze me and get better and better as time progresses. So while I'm not advocating that that's always the best choice for your project, if it is the first project that you've ever done, might be better to go with the cheaper stuff. The other thing that I will mention is you need to kind of decide which parts of your piece are crucial to be made out of nice material, for example, and which aren't so much. So, for example, during the Green Renaissance gown, I decided not to skimp on the outer material, and you guys saw it. It was this really beautiful, lush green, and it was actually 100% cotton, but it was supposed to mimic the effect of a different kind of fabric. Can't remember what kind of fabric it was supposed to mimic now. Do you remember?
I don't. I'm not an expert.
I'm not either. So there you go. No, I can't. I literally just can't remember what it was supposed to mimic because it's been so long since I actually looked at that fabric. Either way, it did a beautiful job. It was made out of 100% cotton, and I didn't want to skimp on that material. But the inside lining was actually free because it was made out of just scraps that I already had laying around. So I decided to skimp on the inside that nobody would look at and do the extra purchasing on the outside to make it look especially nice. So you have to weigh up what's most important to your project and what are you willing to spend the most money on. So on that note, it's always a good idea to consider the resources, of course, that you already have before you go out and buy something else. So just like the lining that I used in my green dress, depending on what you have, you may be able to create the same effect either with dye or with altering the material slightly. And I will say that sometimes a bottle of dye in an extra hour is a lot cheaper than buying even just a few yards of fabric in the correct color that you might want for the look of your garment. So keep those things in mind as well. Now, before we finish up with the budget talk and we start planning for our next projects, I would like to remind you that we are already in the midst of a project, and that is, of course, the first Sew Along Sunday, which is happening this Sunday, you guys. I am seriously stoked about this. So on Sunday, October 13th at 2 p.m., be prepared to sew along with me. Old Fashioned AF's patrons have already had exclusive access to the blog post that I wrote with the step-by-step instructions and all of the supplies that you will need for the Sew Along Sunday so that you can make the slip with me during this momentous occasion in less than a week from now. But in the meantime, here's the link to that post, which is open to everyone now, but was given to the patrons earlier. Now, I should mention also that especially if this is your first time sewing anything ever, you are going to be able to replay our Sew Along Sunday as many times as you like after the fact if you become a patron of $5 or more. So if you are a patron, no worries. There's already going to be a link to that Sew Along Sunday after the after the time slot, really, on Sunday afternoon. But if you are not, you still have time to become a patron before now or between now and then so that you can have access to that Sew Along Sunday from now until the end of time or whenever YouTube makes me take it down, which will probably be never, right? So do become a patron if you would like unlimited access to that video once it becomes available. And also, in addition to that, how many times did I just do filler words? I have no idea today. See, I told you guys that I was a hot mess. Anyway, you also will want to give yourself some extra time between now and Sunday to cut that fabric to go through all of the instructions on the website before we begin. So make sure that you are ready by doing those things before Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And then I will see you there. And of course, don't feel obligated to make a slip with me. You can literally just be on here and hanging out with me anyway, and I would be fine with that. I don't mind. But if you would like to sew along with me, this is the best time to do it because I will actually be sewing in real time as well. So there's that. So now back to the budgeting thing. Once you've decided that you already have all the materials that you need at your disposal, it's time to start pulling those items together and purchasing the individual pieces that you need to be able to make the rest of your costume. As you purchase these items, I think it's really important to keep track of how much money you've spent, because then you'll finally start to understand how much things like a yard of fabric, the type of fabric that you like, or a spool of thread might cost typically. Note them down next to the original pricing that you did. In fact, I would say that, have your price range and then have how much you actually spent for comparison for your next project, because you never know when you're going to make the same piece or a similar piece again, and you'll want to know how much to expect to pay when that comes up. So before I get any further in, let's go into some of the questions, the comments that you might have. And yeah, tell me what you're working on.
Yes, and we have quite the conversation going on in the live chat today. I just want to say hi to Linda, who is joining her first live stream tonight.
Hi, Linda.
And we also have a few other folks that have joined as well that I didn't get a chance to acknowledge at the start. One of those is Sandra. Hi, Sandra. I think Sue, I don't think you were on when I just said hi to everybody. And also Cassie. We've got 2 Cassies on the line now.
Oh, wow.
So hello to Cassie and Jeffrey with the long name insist on Jeff. So
okay.
That makes it easy.
Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So there have been 1 or 2 questions. Firstly, around the hashtag. This question came from one of the Cassies, I believe. It was Cassiopeia, who said, is the Crafty Vintage Lady hashtag just for Instagram, or can it be used on Twitter?
You can use it anywhere. I'm on all the social media and I do check it. It's just that most people share their things on Instagram. I think probably by virtue of the fact that it's kind of, a visual media. You don't have to. If you wanted to share it on Twitter or even on Facebook or somehow on Pinterest, though I haven't figured out how to activate the hashtag itself yet, then supposedly you can do that. I know. What in the world? This has been happening to me all day, you guys. This silly thing will not stay on my head.
Gravity.
Yeah, right.
Been working against me.
Literally.
All right. So that we do have some other comments while you're fixing your headgear there. Where was I? Well, we've just got we've got plenty of comments, and I'll go through all of these, and maybe we will have some questions. Let's see.
Sorry, friends. I am listening, I swear.
Is there any way to post what the slip will look like?
There we go. So actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that because
that comes from Sue, by the way, I should say.
Great. So Sue, I am in the midst actually of taking some clarification pictures for each of those different, I don't know, parts of the process. So in the next couple of days, maybe even tomorrow, if I can get finished in time, then I will have those up on Patreon, and I will also have the finished product on there for you as well. We were out of town this last weekend, so I didn't get to it yet, but I am still working on that. It's almost done now.
This is an interesting one. This is from Donna, who says, I bought a suede ladies jacket from the thrift store and converted it into a vest for my son's pirate costume. I love making costumes for my son.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'd like to see that. See, again, hashtag crafty vintage lady. Show me what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How long, this comes from Peg, hi Peg, by the way, thanks for joining. How long is the live sew-along supposed to last?
So my hope is it will be no longer than 2 hours. You will already have cut out your pieces, or at least 2 of the 4 pieces that you need before you see me. You might even have cut out all 4, depending on whether or not you're making your own straps or you are using something else to make them with, like I am. I think this time around I'm going to use some lace for my straps. If that's the case, you don't have to cut those out. But if you are cutting out your straps, then you will have your pieces already cut by the time that we start our sew along. And then I will talk a little bit about my sewing machine and how that works and how yours might differ. And then we will get into the sewing, and we might just honestly hang out, chat. I'll have a few things instructions wise on how to do all the different steps. But in between those steps, this is our time to be together.
Tartan Tabby says, I love a spreadsheet. That is how I generally keep track of project costs. I can completely understand. I love spreadsheets. I'm addicted to them.
Lawrence really is. He loves them.
Yes.
And I mean, I use them as well. But for me, it's just easier if I already have like the list right there in my notepad. So that's what I use generally.
I think I missed this one, and this is also from Tartan Tabby, who says, do you keep the same level of quality / cost of materials consistent throughout the project, or do you mix it up?
I generally mix it up. Like I said before, I think it's really important to prioritize making the things that are going to look, or people are going to see, I guess, on the outside, the most expensive items, I guess, just because then they'll be the most accurate for whatever project you're making. But you can skimp on some of the other materials, I think, and it will still not spoil the effect too much.
This one's funny. This is from Amy, who said, I made an easily recognizable Rosie the Riveter for work, but my boss asked if I was a wrestler.
That's hilarious. Is there like a wrestler out there that dresses like Rosie the Riveter, I wonder?
I'd have to check.
Lawrence is our wrestling aficionado in this family.
But I haven't watched it since 2004. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything right now.
I don't know. I'm sad, though, because, yeah, Rosie the Riveter, homegirl.
Right, exactly. In fact, Amy makes a good point that it's Dolt 1, History 0 in that particular game.
That's right.
We did have some people that said they had to leave early but want to come back and watch tomorrow.
Oh, great. Yeah. We, unlike the So Long Sundays, we will have this up forever on the YouTube channel. You can play back as many times as you like, and I will always be there talking to you in this void.
I didn't mention, by the way, that Linda, who, like I said, joins us for the first time tonight, said that she is just a seamstress wannabe, that she once made an A-line dress in junior high school. She's just here because she's a Tara fan.
Oh, that's really sweet, and you're going to make me blush.
That's why I said it. I wanted you to blush on camera.
Thanks, Linda. That's very sweet.
Absolutely. And I think I've gotten to most of the questions/comments. If I missed any, just ping me, because I've been at work all day and my brain is not quite awake.
That's right. Yeah, this has been the most disorganized I think I've ever been on one of these So streams. So for that, I apologize. But hey, I have one more point for you. And then maybe if we have any other questions or comments in the next couple minutes, then we can get to those. So my last point is probably the best piece of advice I can give to anybody who is starting out with a project like this. And it's that, all of those figures, all of the aspects of the budget, none of that stuff happens overnight. It's a process that, the more that you make things, the more that you note down all of those prices, the more that you go and you actually look at fabrics and you shop for things, then the more your own knowledge of these pieces and what it takes to, completely craft a project will get more fine-tuned over time. So, I have gone back and forth, and sometimes I do a great job of actually getting all of the teeny tiny little details of a costume down. And other times, if I just don't have time, then I will do the very basic stuff, and that will be what it is for that specific costume. You can't allow yourself to feel bad about starting from somewhere, because we all start from somewhere. So make sure that whatever start that you give yourself, you're making all of those notations along the way, so that the next time you'll be a little more skilled than you were before. And that's really just the way that this kind of thing goes. So Lawrence, do we have any more comments at this point, or?
We do have a couple. I do want to point out that in regards to us revealing our Halloween costume, we did have, this was from Cassie, who said that we should definitely reveal it now, this very instant. And just a few other comments that came in right at the end there. Cassiopeia says that I think I'm probably going to, the comment just moved as I was reading it. I think I'm probably going to make a house elf costume for my daughter. She just said she wanted to be one for Halloween.
Oh, how cute. Oh, make sure that you share that with me on social media, because I can't wait to see it. It's going to be adorable, I'm sure. Is it going to be like Dobby, or is it going to be another house elf, I wonder?
And Jeff says, I got into sewing to maintain my uniforms when I was younger, so it's been quite a while since I actually made something.
I feel like, were you on another sew stream where you mentioned something like that? Because I watched in the playback, somebody was talking about how they repaired their uniform, and I thought that sounded really impressive.
Absolutely. Okay, so that, I think I got through most of the comments questions. It was a lively bunch tonight, so if I did miss your comment or question, you can slap me on Twitter or Instagram or bloody YouTube.
That's right. Lawrence is on all of the socials too. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh.
You just kick the camera.
It's that kind of a night, folks. So anyway, thank you so much for everything, joining me, supporting me. This is always a blast every time that I do it. I am loving the community that we've created for each other. And like I said, keep using that hashtag crafty vintage lady. Show me your projects. I cannot wait to see them, especially if you decide to do the Sew Along Sunday with me. I want to see your projects and I want to share them too in future sew streams. So in the meantime, and in the swing of things, Lawrence is going to put all the links to my socials in there so that you can follow me as well and you can see what I am working on, as well as, again, tag me in anything that you would like to show me. And if you would like to get the inside scoop on all the things that we are working on before anybody else, then you can become a patron at patreon.com/oldfashioned_AF. And yeah, that's about it. So for those of you who are doing the Sew Along Sunday, again, if you want to sew along with me, make sure that you look at that post and that you do the things that are on there. Be waiting for the next probably 24 to 48 hours and I will get the pictures up there. And I will see you on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Bye.
Bye.